Hey everybody, I'm James Robert Elliott. I am here with Mike Solitro from Accomplished RE. We've been having some good conversations offline and wanted to take it online about success, about leadership, and about communication. Mike, welcome to the show. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, James, and thanks for hitting live because we were kind of going into it like, somebody else might want to hear this, and it could be helpful to others. So it makes sense to put it out there.
Right on, right on. Yeah, exactly. We're having such a great conversation. And I'm like, we were both thinking we should just go live with this dialogue we're having on leadership, on communication. That's too funny. Tell really briefly, Mike. Introduce yourself. Tell us what you do, and we'll get a context to our conversation today about success, leadership, communication, influence.
Yeah, sure. Accomplished RE, that's my baby, that's my business. And what I do, I generally work one on one with real estate agents, real estate professionals, and we focus on a few different things. One, how to find time, location, or financial freedom from their business. And we do that by kind of taking a deep dive into looking at what's working well and areas that may not be working up to the levels they want, their clients want, so we get effective and we get efficient in their business model, and we tailor it to what makes sense to them and to those clients.
Very cool. Beautiful, beautiful, amazing. So you and I were talking a minute ago about systems versus people, and that was a gem in itself because I think some people throw out the systems when they get sick of something or it's not working, or someone becomes too obsessed with any system or pattern or something too pre-programmed, too planned. And because you said your main focus is people, and that's how you be successful. Tell us more about that, please.
Yeah, the people part of the equation is one that's easy to overlook, but if for any successful business, it is the people behind it, or at least the people that are piloting it, that are most vital. So people ask, hey, are you systems process guy, or results systems and it's like you have to be both. That you have to understand that you need a way to do things, but you need to look at the results. And oftentimes, what separates a good system or a great result or one or the other is that who is working on this. So whether it's me work with my clients, working with in a real estate transaction, it's who's involved, what are they looking for, what outcome are they hoping to get, and why. So understanding who the people are and what's important, and then tailoring or building or tweaking a system or process that's proven in the past is generally the best way to do that. The starting point for a lot of this is the 80-20 rule, which is a lot of people's default. And it is because it works. That if you've got something that it's worth 80% of the time, 80% of the time, or 80% of it, great. Start there. There's no reason to start from zero every time. But don't ignore who you're working with. Don't ignore where you want to go. And if it is a one-off or something that falls in that 20% bucket, that's okay. But try to adopt as much as you've either automated or built in the past, and try to just make it work. Because a lot of times, as you said, it's that, oh, this system won't work, so let me just do something completely different, or let me start again. And just the amount of waste that goes into that is it's kind of sad when you look back at
It is, and it was interesting leaving a corporate environment and starting my own gig. And I'm like, screw this, threw everything out, all the systems out, and it was just me. And luckily, I'm great with people. Although the problem was, it was hard without any systems, let's say a CRM or database, because customer information. It was hard. I was just winging. Well, I wasn't winging it, but I was going by memory on calls. Okay, is this person this, or did they have a dog, or did their daughters go to college, or whatever it was, or having automated lead follow-ups, automated email follow-ups, little application that would alert me, hey James, time to follow up with Mike, or time to follow up with Fred or Dorothy, or whatever. And it was so interesting looking back. I'm like, ugh, throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Some things I didn't like about certain environments I was in, and I think you do need both, like you said. However, when we become too system centric and not enough people centric, like picking up the phone, having a conversation versus only relying on emails or automated emails or email lists or whatever, whether you're a corporation or whether you're an entrepreneur, I think we do become disconnected with people. And that's not a good thing, because then how are you different than anyone else? I mean, how are you different from AI at that point? How do you differentiate, show value? People buy from people, as you know. So that's a really valid point. You mentioned something as well. You mentioned the why, focusing on the why. Completely agree with you. Talk to us more. Why is the why? Why should we care about the why? Why is the why of the client so important?
Sure, and I will get to that, but I just want to highlight a couple excellent points, and this will not be a compliment fest, I promise. But you mentioned two things that kind of just really set a light bulb on. I wrote them down. First,
Cool.
the spending time in corporate, which I did as well, and now do my own thing, which
Yeah.
I am now doing, is that it has that kind of temptation where you just throw it all away. Like that was bad. I want to do that. But the reason corporate is big and has got to where they are is because they do something right, or they
Yeah.
are built on a system that works. So to throw the whole thing away, that's not, you want to pick and choose, cherry pick the best and then bring that into what you're doing and personalize it.
Yeah.
And then the second thing, the memory piece, that I'm just going to work off memory. I can do it. And the visual that somebody gave me is like, especially when you're doing your own thing, it's like you're juggling. And you might start off 2, 3, 4, but at some point, regardless of how good of a juggler you are, there's going to be too many balls and you're going to drop something. And you don't get to pick and choose what drops. Something is going to fall. And when it does, that's when you're going to start seeing clients not being reached out to, calls not being made, dates being missed, deadlines being overlooked, and that's the problem. And I even remember when I was younger, I was talking with a colleague about a calendar. I was like, I don't need to write it down and keep a calendar. If it's important, I'll remember it. And just thinking about how stupid, how kind of just arrogant and wrong that is of course, there's way too many things, and utilizing calendars is pretty much where I start with everything I do in my clients, because it's the way we kind of set up our days and weeks for success. Now to answer your question, I promise I'll keep it short.
No, that's
So,
important. That's really valid point.
the why. As I said, my background is in real estate. I've had the ability to kind of work on multiple different things, all kinds of deals. But the why is often not asked or an afterthought, and you don't realize it till after why it's so important. And another good example I'll give is I live on Cape Cod. It's a vacation area in New England. People love coming. So when we talk about selling real estate, let's say, people often assume fast, most money. That's I want to sell my house. I want it done tomorrow. I want the most money. A lot of times that's the case. But if you don't ask why are you selling, or why is this important to you, or what outcome are you looking for? I mentioned I live in a place people vacation, because this happens a lot. It's like, well, I know it's April, but I would just love one more summer here. So if I could get a great deal and I could stay in my house, stay in my area until September, that would be ideal. So I wouldn't know that unless I asked the question. So their why is different. Like, yeah, of course I'd like to maximize what I get, and I would like this done with as few headaches as possible. But actually, what's most important to me is not to move until. So should I wait until August? Should I do it? Should I sell it now and look to have a lease back where I stay in my home, or what other options are out there? Without having, it's like, you might take that client, sign them up, and then show up the next day. Good news! I got somebody interested in buying your house. They want to pay more than we thought, but they need you out tomorrow. It's like, it's not ideal. So just
That's not
asking that
true.
why.
Exactly.
It's the whole thing with positions and interests. So their position, I want to sell my house. But the interest is, I want to sell my house when it makes sense for me, ideally in the fall in that instance. So just asking why, and sometimes asking why multiple times, or why is that important, and then understanding, and then delivering on what either the solution or the fix is, based on what's the most important to them.
True. It's so interesting. I agree. I mean, people, when I'm coaching or speaking for corporations, or in training entrepreneurs or training leaders, it's I tell them, make sure to ask people why. They say they want more money. Why? They don't want the money. Do they really want to roll around a bunch of paper? No. Do they really? Is it really important that the numbers in their bank account are sky high? It's important, but for another reason. Just the number themselves. It's so they can go on vacation, or maybe give back and donate, or take their kids or their nieces or nephews, like in my case, on really cool trips and vacations, go to amazing places to donate, to give back, I want to build schools, build homes. So that's my big why for being influential, having lots of money, building a big business, and helping people. And my why is also very intrinsic. I struggle with communication, leadership, influence a lot when I was younger, and doing so much work on that. It's become a 180. So my big why is helping others. And sure, money is a measure of that, of the number of people I help in the world. Like Khalil Gibran says, he said, let the money you make be a measure of your success and contribution in the world. And it's so true. So I wanted to stop you at that point, because why, to your point, you may want to give them something else, or you're selling something a certain way, or you're promoting something a certain way in your company, or to a client, or or whatever. And if you're seeing me getting nowhere, I think, and I love your thoughts on this, I think that people are missing the why of it. If they're trying to push something, sell something, they're not getting anywhere. They're missing the why of the organization or of the client or of the leader, if you will, and not hitting that why.
Yeah, and even as you describe it, I realize that I don't want to say jump the gun, but you need to know the why of your clients. But even before that, the first thing I do with every person I work with is, why do you do what you do? Because it's different. I might assume it's to make as much money as possible, or it's X, Y, Z. But you need to know what why you get up and why you do what you do. Well, I've been in this business for 25 years. That's all I know. Okay. Is it still something that's of interest to you? Okay, it's never been of interest. So then why are you doing? So it's understanding the why of your clients, paramount important. But understanding the why of what you do kind of helps that go back and forth. Because if you're just doing it by muscle memory, or it's all that you know, and you don't have a, say, greater good or a reason for doing what you do, it makes it so much harder, and it's not, I don't say authentic, but it's, you're just doing it for the sake of doing it. Where, as you kind of outline, if you've got, it doesn't have to be altruistic, but if you've got a real why driving you, this is my mission, one sentence, mine. I want to work with as many real estate agents as possible to get them that time, location, and financial freedom. It, I don't want to say it's not like work, but when I'm doing these things, it's what gets me up in the morning. It what keeps me interested, and it really powers my business. So I know my why, and it pushes me forward to figure out which clients have a similar why. We collaborate well on that.
True.
So
Yeah.
it's you have to know what drives you, and it starts with what's your why, what's your mission.
I think it's a really valid point, and it can either get you excited to, because certain people, when I talk to them, I get super pumped, super excited to talk with them, to work with them. You and I had such a cool alignment and conversation, and that's why I wanted you on this show. And sometimes we talk with someone, and our whys are not aligned. Like maybe they want to make more money by, I don't know, dumping sewage into the river or dumping toxic waste in the ocean. That's not cool to me. I mean, I'm an environmentalist too. I think we need a balance. Yes, we can't turn off all the electricity or stop driving all the cars today. However, anyways, that's another that's another podcast. Uh, however, we're not doing enough. And I've seen over my 42 years, I've seen the world change. It's no lie. I've literally seen the world change. That being said, though, it's do we align with their why? Do I want to work for this company? Do we even want to work with this client? I really, Arlene Dickinson of the Dragon's Den, one of the Dragon's Den shows, I love how she talked when she was starting her company venture, because they would say no to certain people if they weren't aligned with them, or it wasn't ethical, or clients want to do something unethical. Or whatever, or she didn't feel aligned. She said they're going to pay us lots of money, but they're going to be jerks to work with. Sorry, we're not interested. And that really resonated with me, because I'm the same way. I don't work with everyone. I don't work with every corporation. I don't work with every entrepreneur, because it can suck the life out of you and suck the joy out of you to work with the wrong company. So I think we need to be very cognizant of that too. That again, make sure it aligns with your own why. Do I value what this person is doing? And because not everyone's for everyone. We resonate with different people, and that's why I don't believe in competition. Even if we do the same thing, different people resonate with different people. So
Yeah, for sure. And it does start with how you build it. That if you even have the mindset of, well, I don't want to do that down the line, but I have to do that now because I'm new, or because I need to take on as many you can, but you're going to keep seeing that trickle into your business. So you really want to build it on a foundation of where you see yourself going, as opposed to kind of just taking on every client, every project, every piece of work, because you come from a position where you feel like you need to. Of course, it's different for everybody, but you want to build toward where you want to be ultimately.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. I mean, who knows? Maybe you may make more money. I don't think so. I think you make the most money by doing the most amount of work you love with the people you love. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you do make more money by accepting every single client, and known to man, known to humankind, and you'll be pulling your hair out. But if you're okay with that because you're rich, cool. Good on you. I've worked with clients that were the wrong clients, and wow, did they ever take 2 to 3 times the amount of time for me than the right clients do. So that's my thoughts on the wrong clients will make you broke. I could be wrong. Maybe accepting every single client possible for some companies is profitable. I don't find it fulfilling. Let's talk next a little bit about communication, because you and I are talking about that as well, and good communication, communicating with your teams, with your vendors. with your staff, with your clients. Talk to us a bit about that. What do you find are some of the most powerful, I guess I'll call them keys to good communication? I'll read that John Maxwell quote in a minute that I read last night. I think that's a powerful way to tie out this.
Yeah, communication is forget a conversation. You know, it's books on books on books as far
Mm.
as what works, how, why, when, and all of those. And but what came to mind as we talked about Maxwell, and I don't know if I can attribute this to Maxwell, but I heard this and it just stopped me in my tracks because I consider I'm a great communicator. You know, I say what I'm thinking, and people know what I'm talking about. I can inspire them. I can influence. But what the idea was there's four things that happen when you communicate. There's what you think you're saying. There's the
Hmm.
words you actually say. Then there's what they hear, and then there's what they understand. So now we're 4 degrees away from what was going on here, and that's
What
just
was
a
going on?
one-on-one. That's a one-on-one conversation. Forget about talking to a room full of people, a team full of people, and people that know you. There's well, he said this, but he means it. So it's like
Biases, exactly. He probably means this, or he's doing this again, or she's doing that again, or she's probably talking about this again. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. We're already listening to our listening is already worked before even persons open their mouth. But continue, please. I interrupted you.
no, and I'm glad you did. It's all of those things. So you might say, well, I want to repeat myself. I want to say this again. But asking questions, and then there's artful ways to do this. And then even if you ask, did you understand? Sure, I understood. I understand what I understood, but did you understand what I?
Exactly.
And it can be kind of like talking to a child. But it's like, well, what does that mean to you, or what makes sense as far as next steps? To have that, and going back to knowing the people you work with that you're communicating with, can they explain it to you in a way it's like, all right, I see that there's some kind of common understanding, because you will never have 100% know exactly what's going on in my mind, and I'll know what's going on in yours. Because we might be talking and you might be smiling and nodding, but you've got a situation on at home that you're keep that is front and center, and as soon as you walk away, this conversation is going to become secondary, or you'll forget it. So when you're communicating, understanding there are especially now, there's so many other things that are fighting for that interest level, and that there are so many messages that get misconstrued just based on simple day-to-day communication. So understand that repetition is okay. Have check-ins, and don't get upset when it's like, well, you knew exactly what I was saying. Well, no, they probably didn't. So
Maybe not.
and that's on you. So don't get upset at the person that was the attended recipient of that communication, because probably you could have said it better.
Well, and fair, and that's why I love the theme when I teach communication, when I teach leadership. It's take responsibility. If you want something done or completed, doesn't mean you have to do it all, or avoid judging that person. Oh, they're not so bright because they're not getting the point. Well, maybe it's the explanation, or maybe it's how you're explaining it. There's different leadership styles, there's different listening styles, there's different communication styles, and if we're communicating the wrong style to the wrong person, it's like speaking, I don't know, Russian to an English speaker, or Spanish only to a German speaker. It doesn't work. You're doing this instead of this. And I love two of the presuppositions of NLP. Think of it as a theme or an idea. So the first one is called the map is not the territory. And what that means is that the words we use, like the words like I could say, hey, I come to your store, Mike. I want to buy a chair. I want to come to your furniture store, Mike. I want to buy a chair. And you're like, well, here's a nice chair. I said, no. I don't want a kitchen chair. I want like a nice, comfortable chair. Oh, here's an office chair. There's a really nice, comfortable office chair. You can sit and work all day. No. That's not what I mean. A really comfortable chair. And you show me these different chairs. And in my mind, what I have is I don't know, a big love seat. Let's say you show me a lazy boy. Yeah, that looks comfortable, but that's not what I mean. I want a big chair, and in my mind like that I can, I don't know, sit with my girlfriend with. So it's I'm thinking like I have a big love seat, a big comfy love seat with the feet things go up, and I've just said chair. So this is one reason why communication can be so off, and of course chair is a very mundane example. However, it's the same, that the words we use, to your point, they have to go through all the different mechanisms and filters, and we maybe that word, that phrase, or that sentence, or our biases, our assumptions about the person, about the material, maybe we know just enough about that material or subject matter to be dangerous, right? So it totally changes it. And then the other NLP presupposition or theme that I love is the meaning of communication is the response you get. I think that's a powerful one too. If you communicated and either they haven't got it, or they got the wrong idea or part idea, or completely did not misunderstand, then again, however they respond is feedback to you that, okay, that's the meaning of your communication. Was that what you intended? or not, and then fix it. Which is why, to your point, ask questions. Did you understand? What does this mean to you? What are you thinking? Do you know what you need to do now? What are you going to do? What are you planning to do? Very
Yeah,
valuable.
that feedback is of utmost importance because almost like a mirror. It's a reflection of this is what I said, this is what you
Totally.
understood. Are we in a place where there is some common ground? And oftentimes, yes, but oftentimes without it, you have no idea, and you're walking away. What did I say? What was meant? What was understood? Where do we go next? So if you can kind of remove as many of those barriers, it helps.
That's the key. Right on, right on. The fact of communication. There's a John Maxwell quote I want to read to everyone, and it's every time you speak to people, give them something to feel, something to remember, and something to do. And I like the do piece because it makes it real, it makes it tangible versus a bunch of thoughts and information without action. There's no knowledge or learning. And that's a key thing, and that's why I think a lot of teachers that teach that there's no, okay, this is a specific action for you to do or think about or reflect or go take this action. And I love that, something to think, something to feel, and something to remember and something to do. So I was really powerful, and I wanted to weave that in as well because people remember things with big emotion. If I mean, there's you've probably heard the quote as well, like if you people won't remember what you say, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And a very popular quote, but it's that's why you need to give them something to feel to create emotion or drive or urgency or excitement. Again, talk about the why. Create excitement and urgency, desire with your communication too, with what you're speaking about, and then they're going to remember it. And of course, give them an action step. They take action. They do something. It integrates it into their life. It makes it real. What are a couple other big as we close out here? Big. Okay, I'll call them secrets or maybe pillars of your success, Mike, in your business and transitioning.
Yeah, one thing that and we've kind of hit on it today, is understanding what the right relationship, the right clients, what the right type of work is for you. So I'm one who, my background's a little different. I'm an attorney. I work as a coach, a consultant, and I do transactional work. So I do a little bit of different things. But what's important, I think, as far as being successful, is understanding what I'm good at in all of those things,
Mhm.
what I should lean on others as far as delegatable tasks, what I'm looking for as far as a collaboration with the client, what I bring, what I'm looking for, and ways we can best work together. So understanding your strengths, not in not not in a way where you're overextending yourself either. So as I mentioned, I do those different. If I try to do everything under all of those pillars, I would do none of them well.
Sure.
So I have slivers in each of those roles that I find I've excelled at and continually looking to get better. But I also know who I can most benefit in the client role, who I can best collaborate with, and I tie those things together. So
Yeah.
understanding that there are limits to what I'm good at, what I can do. There are weaknesses of mine that I look to improve, and there's just things that I can't do, I shouldn't do, or I don't have the right capacity, time, energy, whatever is missing. I can't fill that in. So I need to find ways, whether it's a system, most likely it's other people,
Yeah.
other resources or other things out there that I can kind of plug and I can make it back to being effective or efficient. So that I think has been a big thing for me, that you can't do everything. You can't do everything well. Know what you do
No.
well and make that be your primary focus.
I love that. And one of my mentors, Dan Sullivan, calls that your unique ability. What is your unique ability? And do that every day. What do people pay you for? What do they need? What are you great at? What is, I wouldn't say effortless, but what is so easy for you that's hard for most people? And do only that. My other mentor, Rubel Shandy, he says when you do your unique ability or the thing you love and you're best at, the whole 10,000 hours rule to become an expert, it shrinks. Because if you're doing everything and doing everything yourself and try to be successful all in yourself because of whatever ego or pride or whatever, thinking, oh, no one's going to do it as good as me. Trust me. And there's lots of people who do marketing better than me and do Facebook ads better than me and do accounting better than me and all this stuff. It's literally a waste of my time. And I don't even do it to the quality they do it anyways. I do what I'm good at and what I talk about, which is relationships, teaching, training, learning. That's what I do best. And I outsource the rest. And it doesn't mean, we talked about this earlier, Mike. You take responsibility for the outcomes you want. You don't have to abdicate to everything. Take responsibility. However, it doesn't mean you have to do it as a leader or entrepreneur, business leader, whatever. It doesn't mean you have to do it all. take responsibility for what you want and the outcomes you want. I think I wanted to throw that in there because that ties in, and that's a very good point that you bring up. It's, do you want to get to those 10,000 hours in actually 400, 500 hours? Because that's all you do is the great thing you do. Or do you want to do everything, all the parts of your business or work or whatever, and take over 10,000 hours to get to mastery?
And I think that's an important distinction you make, that
Mm-hmm.
just because you are delegating it or it becomes somebody else's primary focus, that you don't just, as you said, abdicate responsibility. It's still your responsibility. When something goes poorly, you need to fix it. You can't just say, well, that's not my area. Even you're in charge. Otherwise, it's going to stick to you at some point.
Yeah,
People you work with are going to not be as excited to work with you, and the clients aren't going to work with you. It's like, well, yeah, he's good at ABC, but when anything goes wrong, I can't get a hold of him, or it's never his fault,
exactly.
or anything like that.
Yeah, whereas the disgusting, it's not my job syndrome, and you see that in certain industries more than others, and certain, not to pick on anything or anyone, but you see that in certain places. But it's still, there's a lot of it's not my job syndrome. And Justin Sterling, one of my mentors, he says, I have a lot of mentors. Justin Sterling, he says, true leadership is taking responsibility for something that you may not normally be seen to be responsible for. So making sure the floors of your building are swept and clean may not necessarily be your job. It probably isn't if you're a leader or entrepreneur or whatever. However, taking responsibility to make sure that is done and that is done well, should be or is your job. It's your job to make sure the organization, the company, is running like a world-class company, if that's what you desire. And no, you don't have to clean the floors. However, okay, if they're not clean, instead of, it's not my job syndrome, well, and this floors cleaning is, of course, a mundane example. Anything, customer service, making sure someone gets back to a customer, making sure people are getting back to clients, or are great at their job, or executing on the job. Take responsibility, and like you said, Mike, avoid abdicating. Trust me, I've learned that hard lesson. And either people were demotivated, or they tried to rip me off, or they were lazy and not doing anything. And take responsibility. Again, outsource, have vendors. I love having vendors and virtual assistants and experts, because I'm not great at doing everything in life, and nor do I want to do everything. I just want to do what I'm good at and what I love, and helping people and making a difference. And you make more money and you have more time that way anyways. Any last thoughts, Mike? This has been amazing. I got to do another one of these. I can't believe we're up to almost 30 minutes already. Any last thoughts on big tips and secrets to enhancing success that you've learned?
Yeah, I'm sure you meant to do it, but that cleaning the floor example is kind of the perfect illustration of almost everything that we talked about today. That if you are that kind of leader, how do you communicate to that person, like, this isn't the best use of my time or my job, but this is your job. How can I influence, inspire you to want to do it as well as it's important as to me, because my name's on the building, my name's in the company. I want to have that kind of excitement out of you in doing that job. It goes back to communication, goes back to leadership, and then the highest use of your time. So kind of all of those things. Because if you're communicating in a way, it's like, I'm clearly talking down to you. It's like, I'm too good to do this. Well, then he's not going to care.
No.
And then it's kind of all those things. So, but the fundamental piece, that it's people. You might have a system. Floor gets cleaned at 10, noon, and 2. It's supposed to be clean in our system. But if you're not good at communicating, or you're a jerk about it, or you're not a good leader, it's not going to be done in a way that, and again, it's a small example, but it's not going to be done at the best way possible. So you need to understand, yeah, I've got a system, I've got a process, but people make businesses, make the world run. So if you can't relate to other people, if you can't communicate to other people, if you can't lead or be led, something's going to fall apart at some point, and it's probably not going to work out all that well, or as well as it could.
Well, and that's the thing. And I mean, it's funny how often I hear this. Oh, no, James, I'm a great communicator. I don't need communication training. And I'm like, okay, well, let's say that is true. I think most people could you do even better? Would it help you? Are you making millions or billions of dollars a year? Well, could you communicate better? Could you lead better? Could you have more influence or persuasion skills? And they're like, well, yeah, I'm not at a million yet, or I'm not at 10 million or a billion yet. Okay, I guess there's room to grow, and it's now below, because to your point, it's everything. Without communication, we all assume we're great communicators. I've done a lot of teaching and a lot of work, and not to knock anyone, but a lot of us are not that great at communicating. And it's not that we're poor communicators, but we don't have the knowledge or the training to say, okay, this person communicates best this way. This person needs this type of media. Maybe they're high visual. Maybe they're more auditory and just want to talk about it. Maybe they need to literally be walked through it, and it's nothing about intelligence levels. It's just different communication styles. There's different learning styles. People, like what you're talking about, need why. I think everyone needs the why, some more than others. Me, it's paramount, otherwise I'm not in unless I know why. Some people, it's care less about the why, it's more about the what, or just give me all the facts and details. Then I'll be motivated by that. And I think that's the key. So without getting down on ourselves, and I'm not putting anyone down, it's just be better. My encouragement to you is be better. I think your message is be better and take responsibility for everything you want in your life, your work, your business, your career, your relationships.
Couldn't have
Amazing.
said it better myself. So it's a nice place
Beautiful,
to end.
beautiful. Amazing, brother. Amazing. This has been awesome having you here. By the way, guys, I'm going to pop this up here. This is Mike's information as well. If you want to get a hold of Mike, accomplished.re, Mike at accomplishedre.com, or just www. I messed that up, my bad. Mike, www.accomplishedre.com. It's been a pleasure having you here, Mike. Thank you very much for your time. We'll have to do this again. Clearly, we think a lot alike. I appreciate your time, brother.
You got it, James. It was fun. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. My pleasure. Thanks, everyone, as well. Go